Right now, 1 in 4 Americans is walking around with a liver that looks exactly like a heavy drinker's, and most of them have never touched a drop of alcohol in their life. If you have been struggling with stubborn belly fat, unexplained fatigue, or sluggish digestion after 60, this video is for you. Here is what nobody tells you. For decades, you were told that eating 6 small meals a day was the smart way to keep your metabolism running. But clinical biology is now revealing something very different. That constant eating, that habit millions of Americans follow every single day, may actually be one of the main reasons fatty liver has quietly become one of the most widespread conditions in older adults today. But here's the good news. Your liver is not fragile. It carries one of the most powerful self-repair systems in the entire human body. And in this conversation, Dr. William Carter is going to walk you through exactly what happens inside your liver, hour by hour, every single time you stop eating. What you are about to hear may completely change the way you think about your next meal. I am Dr. Daniel Brooks, and this is the Stronger Seniors podcast. With me today is Dr. William Carter, a physician who has dedicated 33 years to helping older adults protect their metabolic health, their liver function, and their long-term vitality. Dr. Carter, most people over 60 assume that if they do not drink alcohol and they eat regularly, their liver is probably just fine. Why is that assumption so dangerous?
That assumption is exactly why so many people are caught completely off guard when their doctor mentions fatty liver during a routine checkup. The liver does not send pain signals the way your knee does when something goes wrong. It is a remarkably quiet organ. And that silence is precisely what makes fatty liver so easy to miss for years, sometimes for decades. What most people do not realize is that the liver has a second job beyond filtering toxins. It is the central processing hub for everything you eat. Every carbohydrate, every fat, every protein passes through it. And when food keeps arriving hour after hour, day after day, the liver never gets the chance to finish one job before the next load arrives. Think of it like a mail sorting facility that never closes. Eventually, packages start piling up in the corners. That is essentially what fat accumulation in the liver looks like at the cellular level. And after 60, this process accelerates. The liver's metabolic efficiency naturally slows with age. Hormonal changes reduce the body's ability to regulate fat storage, and decades of constant eating patterns compound the problem in ways most people simply never connect to their liver health. But what surprises my patients most is not the problem itself, it is the solution. Because the body already knows how to fix this. It is known for millions of years. It just needs the right conditions. And understanding what happens inside the liver during those quiet hours between meals is where everything begins to change.
Dr. Carter, you mentioned the liver gets overwhelmed by constant eating, but most people over 60 were told for decades that eating frequently was actually good for them. What did we get so wrong?
What we got wrong is that we confused keeping energy up with keeping the liver healthy. Those are two very different things. Every time you eat, insulin rises, and as long as insulin is elevated, fat cannot leave your fat cells. Not from your belly, not from your liver, not anywhere. The person eating 6 small meals a day is essentially keeping their insulin elevated from breakfast to bedtime. Fat goes in. Fat never comes out. Year after year, quietly, the liver fills up.
So the liver is essentially being overworked without anyone realizing it. Dr. Carter, you once told me about a patient whose liver results shocked even you. What happened?
Yes, George was 76, a retired engineer from Cincinnati. Never drank, walked every morning. Ate what he thought was a balanced diet, including snacks between every meal because his previous doctor told him it would stabilize his blood sugar. When his imaging came back, his liver fat was significant. He looked at me and said, "Doc, I did everything right." And honestly, that is the hardest conversation to have, because he had. He just had the wrong instructions.
That story probably sounds familiar to a lot of people watching right now. So what does the body actually need instead?
It needs gaps. Quiet hours between meals where insulin drops low enough for the body to switch from storing energy to burning it. And what happens inside the liver during those quiet hours is genuinely one of the most fascinating processes in human biology. Starting with something that kicks in right around hour 8.
Dr. Carter, you mentioned something remarkable happens right at hour 8. Most people assume hunger means they should eat immediately, but you're saying the opposite is true?
Exactly. Around hour 8, the liver runs low on glycogen, its short-term fuel reserve. And here's where something beautiful happens. It turns to fat. Fatty acids start streaming out of fat cells, traveling to the liver, and getting converted into ketones. Ketones are a remarkably clean fuel for the brain and heart. Many researchers now believe the brain actually runs smoother on ketones than on glucose. No spike, no crash, just steady clarity. A 2024 clinical trial out of China followed 60 adults doing alternate-day fasting for 8 weeks. By the end, their growth hormone levels had roughly doubled, and liver fat dropped by 12% on imaging scans.
Growth hormone doubling after 60 sounds almost too good to be true. What does that actually mean for the body?
It means your muscles are being protected while the fat is being burned. That is critical after 60, because muscle loss is one of the biggest health risks in older adults. And here is a little sign that tells you the switch has flipped. Your hunger actually fades around hour 10 or 12. I know that sounds completely backward, but once ketones start flowing, those urgent hunger signals quiet down on their own. Some people also notice their breath smells slightly fruity. That is not a problem. That is your liver telling you it is working.
Dr. Carter, most people stop fasting right around hour 12 because they feel they have done enough. But you were saying the most powerful stage actually begins after that point?
That is exactly right. Between hours 12 and 18, a process called autophagy shifts into high gear. The word comes from Greek and means self-eating, which sounds alarming, but is actually one of the most elegant systems the body has. When food stops arriving, your cells start scanning themselves for damaged proteins, broken components, and cellular debris. They wrap up the damaged pieces and send them to tiny recycling stations inside the cell. There, the broken parts get dismantled and rebuilt into healthy new structures. Inside the liver specifically, there is a targeted version called lipophagy, which goes after fat droplets sitting inside liver cells. Those are the exact same fat droplets responsible for fatty liver disease. Lipophagy literally pulls them apart and converts them into usable energy.
So the liver is essentially cleaning itself from the inside out? Dr. Carter, you mentioned a patient whose results after this process genuinely surprised you?
Yes. Margaret was 74, a retired school teacher from Portland. She had been told her liver enzymes were elevated for 3 years running. She started a simple 16-hour eating window. Nothing extreme, just finishing dinner by 6 and not eating until 10 the next morning. 12 weeks later, her imaging showed liver fat had dropped measurably. She told me, "Dr. Carter, I did not change what I ate. I just changed when." And that is precisely the point. A 2024 randomized trial in Iran put 80 patients with fatty liver on a 16-hour fasting schedule for 12 weeks. Liver fat dropped by more than 9%. Liver enzymes fell significantly. The body was doing the repair work entirely on its own.
Dr. Carter, most people never reach the 18-hour mark. But you say this is where the liver does something almost unbelievable. What actually happens in those final hours?
This is where deep repair begins. 2 enzymes called ALT and AST live inside liver cells. When the liver is stressed, they leak into the bloodstream. Doctors use them as a damage gauge. High levels mean the liver is struggling. But during extended fasting, those levels begin to fall. A 2023 meta-analysis pulling together 16 randomized trials with more than 1,100 participants found that intermittent fasting consistently lowered ALT and AST by 5 to 10 units, improved insulin resistance, and reduced triglycerides across the board. The liver was genuinely healing. And here's the part that still amazes me after 33 years. Surgeons can remove up to 70% of a liver, and the remaining piece will grow back to nearly its original size within months. No other internal organ does that. While you are sleeping, while you are simply skipping breakfast, your liver may quietly be rebuilding itself.
That regeneration ability is remarkable. But Dr. Carter, you mentioned that how someone breaks their fast can either lock in all these benefits or completely undo them in one meal.
That is the part most people never hear about. And honestly, It is where so many well-intentioned people accidentally cancel all their hard work, which is exactly what we need to talk about next.
Dr. Carter, you just said one wrong meal can undo everything. That sounds alarming. What is the most common mistake people make when breaking a fast?
The most common mistake is treating the end of a fast like a reward. A big plate of refined carbohydrates, sugary drinks, processed food. When you break a fast that way, insulin spikes sharply, and your liver switches straight back into storage mode. All that fat it just cleared, it starts refilling. The smarter approach is simple. Break your fast with protein first, some vegetables, a healthy fat. Eat slowly. Your digestive system has been resting and will signal fullness faster than you expect. Think of it this way. You just gave your liver a thorough cleaning. Do not immediately throw trash back into it. And I say that with the greatest respect.
That makes complete sense. Now, Dr. Carter, I know some viewers are already thinking about trying this, but are there people over 60 who should absolutely not attempt fasting without medical guidance?
Absolutely, and I am glad you asked that. Anyone managing type 1 diabetes or taking insulin should not fast without direct physician supervision. People on certain blood pressure medications need monitoring because fasting can lower pressure further. And anyone with a history of eating disorders should approach this carefully with professional support. Fasting is a powerful tool, but like any powerful tool, it needs to be used correctly. A good conversation with your doctor takes 15 minutes and could save you a great deal of trouble. That is always time well spent.
Dr. Carter, after everything we have covered today, what is the single most important thing you want someone over 60 to walk away remembering?
That your liver has been working for you every single day for 60 years or more, without complaint, without asking for anything in return. All it needs is a few quiet hours to do its best work. You do not need extreme measures. You do not need expensive supplements. You just need to give it the same thing a good doctor needs at the end of a long day. A little time to recover. Start small. Finish dinner a bit earlier. Let the morning stretch a little longer before breakfast. Pay attention to how your energy feels, how your thinking clears. Your body will tell you when something is working. And after 33 years of watching patients heal, I can tell you this. The liver's ability to recover still amazes me every single time.
That is a wonderful place to end today's conversation. If this discussion gave you something useful, go ahead and give this video a like, and drop a comment below telling us where you are watching from. We love hearing from our community. And hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next conversation about protecting your health after 60. Share this with someone you care about. You might just give them a piece of information that changes everything. We are honored to be part of your health journey. This channel is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider before making health-related decisions. We will see you in the next episode.